Wow, I really wish I had a proper mic. Can't afford a bloody mic. But have to go and try and find one from somewhere because it's crazy not having a mic. And I'm doing a lot of interviews for TNT and not having a mic on them. And you really do need a mic when you're speaking to people in this medium, or it doesn't really come across the way you'd like it to come across. I'd like to speak today about the Djinn and the Djinn's activity in what's happening in the shootings in Moscow and the genocide of the Palestinian people and the chaos all over the world right now that is only going to increase. What is happening is there has been a return of the Djinn. These are spirits that took part in the creation of humanity when we were formed out of clay. They are also known as the fallen angelic. Some people call them demons. Others call them extraterrestrials. They have returned here and they are reclaiming the earth. I notice there's been programs like on Netflix, the Three Body Parts series to awaken the human mind to open up to disclosure. The likes of Stephen Greer has been talking about disclosure. In this scenario, they will be called extraterrestrials, but they are not extraterrestrials. They are not coming from another planet. They are coming from another dimension. So at the moment, they are riding our leaders. Our leaders are just puppets, and they are being controlled by the Djinn, and the Djinn want to open a really deep, dark portal to let what's known as Iblis, or in the Christian terminology, Satan, descend. So we have then the up and coming period where Satan is allowed loose on planet Earth, which should be fun for all of us. That's sarcasm, because things will get darker and darker and darker, and it will look like, oh, this slice of humanity is in control, or this, and people will be saying, oh, the Democrats, the Republicans, the Conservatives, the Labour, and all this. Nothing to do with politics, I am afraid. Absolutely nothing to do with politics. People that have been avoiding the reality of spirit need to wake up to it, and that's quite a lot of intellectuals out there have a lot of pride in their intellectualism, in their grasp of the planet, but this is outside the planet, and they need to wake up to that and really drop a lot of knowledge they have and a lot of insight they have, because it will actually block the access to seeing and allowing a higher consciousness to come in, which is the only plus point in this darkening of the planet, that we also have a thinness of the veil. So the thinness of the veil allows a growing consciousness, a higher consciousness in those that can access and use this higher consciousness. So there's that benefit to this darkness. With the advent of a deep black darkness, there is, of course, the light, and it will get brighter. And this is the way you claim it, through accessing this higher consciousness. There's a lot of people out there using the activation codes, a lot of benevolent spiritual assistance out there, but it's all mixed up into one kind of paste. But use your intuition to access this kind of thing. There's a lot of it out there. So going back to what's happening at the moment, there is, of course, this blood sacrifice of the Palestinians going on. Recently, there was another blood sacrifice of the shootings in Moscow, and this feeds. This feeds the jinn. This feeds the shaitan jinn. Using that terminology because I studied these beings since childhood, really. I had the misfortune to grow up in a Jesuit-run orphanage and was placed deliberately with puppets of these spirits, and of course was used for sex as a child and beaten, my misery fed off. And I always wondered what was going on. I saw that my parents were very dog-like, didn't have much intelligence. My adoptive parents didn't have much intelligence, and I wondered how they garnered together the intelligence to abuse me so hard, because it had a form of intelligence behind it and power that I recognized was not of my parents. And so I set out on a journey and a pathway of trying to find out what the hell was going on, which led me to study the likes of Ian Brady and Kenneth Bianchi and see most clearly in Kenneth Bianchi that these people that do this kind of thing, school shooters, etc., that we all scratch our heads and we get the likes of Chris Berry explaining, or Emma Kenny explaining, they're psychopaths. And I'm afraid it's not enough. There's lots of people that are psychopaths that don't go out shooting up schools or chopping up teenagers. What happens in these individuals that are used for this is a form of mind control, MK Ultra, that they are traumatized so badly that they become shattered, and one of their alters is then ridden to make them just a tool for these forces. So what happens when these atrocities happen? It's a attack on humanity, God's creation, which is what they want to do. They feed off the misery and the pain associated with it, and the trauma to humanity en masse when we see things like this. But of course, humanity is hardening its hearts. We see things like the Moscow atrocity. We see Palestinians starving and running around like Hunger Games, being bombed when they reach for flour. And there's something of the, oh, look over there, there's a war. Oh, look over there, there's a shooting. And it's passed off, and that's just life. And oh, well, what about October the 7th? They deserve it. That's Hamas they're fighting. And all these kind of weird human ways that the brain goes into denial rather than go into grief about our world is actually over. It goes into denial first. And masses of people are in denial about what's going on at the moment. But it will reach everybody at a given time in the future, and everybody will be feeling it. So it's best now to protect up, and the way to protect up is to reach for spirit, to reach for whatever mode of communication that you have with spirit, and really draw on that. The fires in the Moscow concert shooting was to allow the jinn to appear through the fire and to feed off the misery and the shock of the people. Of course, the bombing and the Palestinians reaching for the food and then to be assassinated is a mocking of the human condition. The human condition is to need to eat. The jinn do not need to eat. So it's like mocking our needs to feel safe, to feel loved, to be able to eat food. Those that are ignoring what's going on at the moment, they will be giving the jinn permission to personally attack them. So it might feel good to sit in a position of don't really care, they deserve it, oh, the Russians got hit, yada, 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 all these methods of denial what's going on in our world, but that then gives the jinn permission to fully access you. So it's highly dangerous, and there's literally a carpet of jinn above us at this given time, and it's descending on all of us. And once this, they call it the second coming, but the second coming actually it's the arrival of Satan. And mostly they know this. These red calves that are being brought in to have their necks slit and the blood spilt on the altar. All these ritualistic sacrifices of people that are going on to bring in their god, aka Lucifer, aka Satan, to eat into humanity. And you might say, but oh, I don't really like humanity. But seeing as you're stuck in a human body right now, that is for a reason. It's for a reason that you need to reach out to the God that created you, to apologize for turning against that God, and to start to climb the ladder to get back to that God, because soon the planet will implode and there won't be a planet, and you will just be suspended in space if you don't reach for that higher level. The higher levels are only available to be accessed by those who don't have a darkness in their body or a shut-offness around their heart. If you're denying what's going on at the moment, you will not be able to ascend. The people that are crying, the people that are upset, the people that are making a noise will be the people that will be allowed to ascend. And it's not one person like St. Peter at the pearly gates that's ticking off a box. It happens mechanically. It happens by energy, the energy of the universe that will smell your energy. And if your energy isn't of the type that they want in its energy, it will not allow you to ascend, and you won't be able to escape the chaos that's going to carry on. And even when you're out of a body, you still won't be able to escape the chaos. It's all spoken about it in the Buddhic systems, about getting off the reincarnation cycle, and of course not having desire for the earthly life, and just really connecting up to the highest. Anything along those lines that you can do will be good. Also connecting up to your personal Djinn. We all have what's known as a guardian angel. The Christians have, of course, twisted that also. It sounds like airy fairy nonsense, but we all have a personal spirit which is known as a Djinn. And it's true what they say: you feed the darkness, it becomes a darker and darker Djinn. You feed the lightness, that Djinn will turn into a loving, benevolent spirit that will guide you. I was lucky enough, but then I've been psychic since a child. I've practiced the occult. I've been knee deep, balls deep in the occult for many, many years, studying theosophy, joining up with a Theosophical Society, and practicing, practicing study, practicing magic, practicing the occult. And it was only actually, I was doing a lot of shamanic journeying up the Tree of Life down to the lower world for a long time. And then, of course, I met Sheikh bin Halimah, who told me that I was under attack from dark magic, and to ask to see that person in a dream. And of course, after interviewing him, it's on my YouTube, the interview with him, I completely forgot I'd watched a very good film. And then Sheikh bin Halimah appeared to me in a dream and said, where's the bit where you cry out for God to show this person that's enacting black magic on you? And I'm like, oh, damn, I forgot. I was watching a really good film. And he said, we'll do it now. So I asked for that to be shown to me, and this person appeared. The Sheikh said, now you fight them, which I did. I enjoy fighting on the astral. Once you get the hang of it, it's super fun. You can bring in all sorts of things into it. You can even have a personal army on the astral that you call with a flick of your fingers. You could call insects, spiders, whatever you want to attack anyone that's attacking you. You can cover them with a blanket of insects. You could do what you want. I find it a little bit like Inception, the movie Inception. You create it. Even though you're clearly with another person who's astrally conscious. Like I spoke to the Sheikh afterwards, and he recalled meeting me on the astral. Some people are astrally awake, some others aren't. So when you're fighting them, some don't have a memory of it, others do. Others have a deep, dark feeling around it. It's interesting. You create it. Of course, you can spy on others if that is what gets you off. It doesn't me. You can use it for all manner of things. And it is becoming more and more available to us as this veil gets thinner and thinner. So it's very, very interesting. So the Djinn. Sheikh Ben Halimah, after I'd fought this individual that was enacting black magic on me that I long suspected, I've now put a reversal in place on them. A reversal is merely a jar with a photograph, and then it's bound, and certain words are uttered. Sigils are painted. You can cut yourself and pour blood on the sigil to give it more strength. And then, of course, you bury the jar, put it in the bottom of your freezer, whatever, but that reverses anyone targeting you. So I used that in this case. And then Sheikh Ben Halimah pointed out a portal. I said, what is that? It looked like a glowing circle in the astral. And he said, that's the world of the Djinn. It's the entrance to the world of the Djinn. But you won't be able to enter it because you're human. They basically dislike humanity. So I went to enter it. As I did, the gatekeeper turned me into a spider, tiny spider, and I literally was choking on sand. I went very, very small. I begged with him to not do that to me, but I couldn't breathe in the sand, and I wished to look around this particular world. He then turned me into a bird, and as a bird I flew over the world of the Djinn, and I saw the various parts. I flew over the kingdom of the Shaitan, and they are causing the most trouble in our world at the moment. They are loyal to Iblis. I saw the castle of Iblis, and I entered the castle of Iblis. And that was a very interesting interaction. I remember being able to go back to that area. Obviously, if you go there once, you know the sound, the smell. You can just imagine yourself back there, and then you go back there. It's a little bit like if you watch Three Body Parts and they put on the silver hat and you find yourself in the astral. It's that. Once you know how to do it, you can do it at will. So I found myself back there, and I was quite angry at life at this particular moment in time. And I called on my own personal Djinn and said, take me to see Iblis. I want to meet Iblis. I want to sell my soul. Because I just had enough of life and the unfairness of it, being targeted myself. And I came into this castle of Iblis, and I waited patiently to see him. And then I felt this presence, and it was so all-encompassing around me. And I held out my hand, and on it was a golden ball, which I was picturing as my soul. And then I felt a kind of amusement as if I was just an insect. And then I felt myself blow away as if I was dust. I remembered that saying, remember thou art dust. And it was like it was saying to me, you have nothing to offer me, even your thoughts are dust, you are dust. And I just felt myself glowing in the deserts. It made me see how small I was, how irrelevant, how we all think we have our souls to sell, but really it's meaningless. You know, that is a fallacy to some extent. So that was quite interesting to encounter that being and know it's, when you hate something, it's like the opposite of love. But that being didn't have a hate for humanity. It had an indifference to humanity. It had the feeling that humanity just meaningless, just dust. And if you read the conversations, I believe Iblis to our creator are stating about how we are worthless and how we are made of dust and it is made of smokeless fire. And actually you can understand the Djinn and their frustration with the creation of humanity. It warned God that humanity would become selfish and turn from our Creator. And indeed, we have turned. Some are indeed worshipping Iblis for power. It will casually offer humans luxury lifestyles, power in the physical world, which is meaningless, absolutely meaningless. We live here for a small amount of time. You had a famous name, you have royalty, even, you have a kingdom. You're going to leave that pretty damn soon. So it's meaningless. And these jinn see it as a joke. And this is what makes us insectoid, the belief in all of it as being real in 3D, when after all it is not real. It is it means nothing, it means little. This is why Christ came and preached all this, and Christ said, I am the gate, because Christ had nothing. He was homeless, and he said, I am the gate, to be like Christ and then to ascend. Our only escape from this world, which is surrounded like a prison by these entities that I believe are now going to, start to show their faces, and we're going to be calling them extraterrestrials. They'll appear to us exactly how they want to appear to us. They're far more intelligent than us. They are intradimensional. And I believe that things like the Netflix series of those books, Three Body Parts, are to prep us. When I saw it on billboards around central London, I thought that is something that has a message in it that they want us to imbibe. And so first thing I did when I got home, I watched it and I thought, oh my God, okay, so what's going to be next? This whole so-called disclosure. The governments, the deep state has been interacting with extraterrestrials, yada, yada, yada. But they're not actually extraterrestrials in the way that humanity's been led to believe, little green men, etc. They are intradimensional, and they have been observing us for the longest time. But now they want to get close. So things will get darker for us because they are an enemy of us. And interestingly, on the Three Body Parts Netflix series, it was stating they are an enemy. And there was lots of lines saying the primitive race will do worse when another superior species comes to conquer wherever, whichever planet they're on, whichever space they're on. The primitive species will do worse. And of course it will. And this is why some of us are worshipping them, are allowing them to come through our meat sacks and then thrive and rise on the basis of that and to gain more and more power. So this is happening, and they're allowing themselves to act out, whether it be a high level of giving instructions or a low level, those sad men who shot those innocent, children as well, in the Moscow shooting. We are in a strange condition, the human condition, in that we can watch something like that and then dismiss it and get on with our own lives, even having a nice time of it, because didn't happen to us, it's over there, and let's call that war, and oh well, yada, 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 yada. This is a state of denial. It's a state of not grieving for humanity and the death of it. It's dying now. This is biblical. It's dying out. Humanity's dying out because the jinn want it to die out, okay? But we have an eternal life that Christ promised us, and we're going there anyway if we're lucky. But I'm just saying the warning that if we are serving others, if we are harming others, if we are being greedy, gathering for ourselves, lying, any one of these sins, then we're not going to be able to ascend. So this is what's going on. As for getting your personal jinn, I was lucky enough, after going through the portal, that my jinn then began to appear to me. I began to converse with it, and they're very handy. They're very, very handy to have a personal Djinn. I don't call on mine non-stop, but, you know, if I'm ever deeply victimized, I will instruct my Djinn. If I'm ever very upset and confused about something, I will consult with my Djinn. So they are handy. I also wear a Solomonic ring for protection. There are Djinn that aren't, you know, as I've been describing, the Shaitan Djinn. These are beings that do control our world. So people that are at the point of, oh, spirit stuff, oh, Djinn, that's all rubbish. I'm going to get on with my Lux bath and my fluffy toilet seat that sprays warm shower as I take a shit and sprays baby powder after. And I'm enjoying my Lux life. Think, think about how long you've got here. Most people that are thinking like that, they're well into late middle age, and they just don't, they'd fight you on it as well about the reality of spirit. And I had a friend like this, Hugh Burnett. He was very intelligent. He was actually MI6, which I didn't know. I read it in his obituary in the Times. He was a BBC producer, and he had that outlook. God doesn't exist. Spirit is woo-woo. We had long, long conversations about it, where he would laugh at me when I would say, oh, I've prayed for this, prayed for that. He would laugh, mock me in a very intelligent way. He was a very bright, gifted man. Just didn't believe in God. I would like to have been his counselor, because I think the reason why he let go of any hope for God is he had 3 sons. The first one died aged 10 in a swimming pool. He put his head in the drain at the bottom of the swimming pool, which should have had a guard on it, but didn't. Julian got his head stuck. It couldn't get his head out. What a failure of adults around that boy. There was no pictures of Julian up around the house. The second son, because of grief, ended up an addict and overdosed on heroin. The third son ended up smothered on the settee. Did Hugh murder him? I don't know, but I know Max and Hugh did not get on, and Hugh wasn't somebody to take shit, actually. So that was Hugh Burnett, fascinating man, my best friend for many, many years. And he didn't believe in God at all. So there was actually a cartoon of him in the oldie that he used to write for, saying, picture of him dead and somebody looking over him with a cross saying, oh, still not believing God, where are you now, Hugh? And they have a strong clinging to that physicality, that, you know, that I will not believe in anything spiritual. But our world soon is going to force us into having to believe in that. Think about how these people are going to feel when we have this disclosure. They're just going to be on the floor and their whole world is going to be twisted. So this is why we have programs like the 3 body parts to prep humanity, so there's not utter chaos, so they can explain it in a way like this, and people will believe. But of course, there's many highly intelligent people out there, people that when the shooting went on in Russia knew that it came from CIA and Mossad working together. It came from the same people that are pounding Palestine. Well, of course it did. They're being ridden by the Shaitan to do this, so they can feed, so they can open this portal. They can call it second coming, but really it is the coming of Satan into our world, which will bring much darkness and will infect and affect every single living organism on this earth. Even the angels themselves are being strangled. The earth itself is being strangled and is crying out for mercy. The one thing we can do is be kind to each other and reach out to spirit and begin a conversation with spirit, because if you do not have that, when it's your turn to leave your physical meat sack and bones, you will be in a lot of trouble. Anyway, that's all I have to say this morning. Hope everybody has a brilliant week.